Hello and welcome attendees to today's webinar. My name is Samantha Forehand and I'm on the marketing team here at Realityworks. And we want to welcome you all to the webinar, 5 strategies plus hands-on tools for helping future healthcare professionals develop geriatric sensitivity. A few housekeeping items before we get started. This webinar is being recorded and we will share a recording with all of the attendees after the completion of this. And we will also send you a participation certificate for taking part in our webinar. Our presenter today is Emily Kurth, a member of our marketing communications team. Emily has presented on several topics around education, and she's presented on geriatric tools many times, both live and webinar. She brings a wealth of knowledge, and we're very excited to share those strategies with you today. So we will pass it over to Emily.
Well, thank you, Sam, and thanks everyone for joining us today. Again, my name is Emily Kurth, and I'm the communications specialist here at Realityworks. Like Sam just said, I have presented on this topic many times, and that's because part of my job is connecting with educators and administrators across the country and learning what they're doing in their classrooms to engage their students. And that's actually where many of the ideas and strategies that I'm about to share with you have come from. They've come from those conversations with the teachers who are doing their best to help their students develop geriatric sensitivity and empathy so they can succeed in careers. So with that, let's take a look at today's agenda. What are we going to cover today? We are going to spend the next 40 minutes or so briefly just reviewing who Realityworks is and why we do what we do. And then we'll dive into today's students. We'll talk about who they are and the characteristics that make them unique. And then, of course, the need for geriatric sensitivity and review some great strategies, tips, and resources that you can use to help your students develop that geriatric sensitivity. We're also really excited to show you some hands-on learning aids that we offer here at Realityworks that can help you achieve those goals as well, and even introduce you to our geriatric simulator live. So with that, let's get started. So first, who is Realityworks? Well, we are an employee-owned company based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, that creates experiential learning tools for teaching job and life skills. We got our start over 20 years ago, actually, when former NASA engineer Rick Germain created our first RealCare baby infant simulator. And then he went on to found the company that is now Realityworks. Today, our training tools combine curriculum with hands-on learning, as well as student activities and assessments. We really strive to create tools that are easy to implement into programs and, of course, come with plenty of customer support. These days, we're delighted to state that our products are in more than 70% of U.S. school districts and programs and more than 90 countries around the world, which amazes me every time I say that out loud. RealCare Baby is still around, but now you can look to us for all sorts of fun tools like a bovine birthing and ultrasound simulator and a virtual reality welding simulator, and of course the geriatric training tools that we're going to talk about today. Looks like we've got a few hands raised here. Oh, thank you. We've got some helpers on the webinar. Thanks for that. Okay, well, let's dive in. I'd love to kick things off with a poll. So if you are able to take a moment and answer the question, what barriers prevent your students from developing empathy and geriatric sensitivity? There should be, let's see, I don't do this super often, so if you aren't able to actually use the poll, I'm not seeing a QR code actually on the screen that you should be able to scan to provide that answer. A little bit of a bummer. You know what, if you can't use the QR code, why don't you type into the chat, or there's a questions and answers little zone on your screen. We'd love to know what barriers prevent your students from developing empathy and geriatric sensitivity. We'll just take a beat to let folks provide their answers. I like kicking off with this question because our own geriatric simulator, which you'll learn more about later in the presentation, really it would not exist if it weren't for teachers asking us for help teaching this particular skill. We heard the need for learning aids that address empathy and sensitivity, and that's why we created this particular simulator. So let's talk about that just real quick. What challenges and barriers are you facing? It looks like we're getting some answers coming in. Thanks, folks, for utilizing that chat. Time constraints, short staffing, lack of understanding. Thank you, Jody. Carl's saying usually only see the ill or combative patients. Yeah. Lack of exposure to the geriatric population. That's absolutely a need that we hear often. Lack of real world experience. Absolutely. Thank you, Julie. Being young and thinking old people are gross, that's honest, but that's real. Thank you. And of course, time to do it with quality. Awesome. Afraid to work with seniors. Kathleen, that is absolutely real. Thank you. We've got some folks using the Q&A as well. Just no experience, Amy says. Yep, absolutely. Catherine as well. We're hearing that echoing a bit. Lack of personal experience with the elderly. Awesome. Thank you everyone for participating in that. That's a great kickoff to today's presentation. It certainly addresses the importance of talking about this topic. So let's start the conversation by looking at the faces of CTE. Who are our students? So your students, 68 million Americans, in fact, belong to Generation Z, who are your students. Your students are digital natives. This is a term that I'm sure we've all heard by now. It's a term used to describe the folks in your classroom today, most of whom were born after 1997, and are therefore members of the post-millennial Generation Z. The oldest are in their mid-20s, and the youngest are actually the age of my oldest child, 9. And they're considered digital natives because they grew up with technology. They truly have never known a world without smartphones. So, and when when you look at millennials, millennials were considered those digital pioneers. They were able to really witness the explosion of technology and social media. But Gen Z is different because they were born into that world, right? So they've never known a world without smartphones and technology. And as you can see on your screen, 68 million Americans belong to this generation, according to the most recent Census Bureau data. And while over a third of them either hold jobs or are self-employed, over half are still students. And the needs of all of those Generation Z students are changing the way you teach. As you can see on your screen, relevancy matters. That standard classroom model where an educator just stands in front of the classroom and lectures just doesn't work. Gen Z students, they want to learn and succeed, but they will disengage if they don't feel connected, if they don't see the relevance. They want to learn why they're learning what they are, and they want to know how they're going to apply it to the real world. So it's important to note that these students, again, they are different than millennials. They're different in how they learn, and they're different in how they view the world. So again, I was just saying, millennials were born, or Gen Z was born into a world without with the prevalence of social platforms, with that constant computer technology. Now, I'm an older millennial myself. I can tease my teenage stepdaughters about always having their phones because I can still remember what it was like to not have a phone. But millennials like myself witnessed the evolution of technology, while those Gen Zers, like my stepdaughters and like your students, were born and raised immersed in this technology. And that difference is a bit of a double-edged sword. So we've done some research and we've learned that on the one hand, Gen Zs are experts in the technology to the point where they need minimal management. But on the other hand, their generation is characterized by a lack of concentration, which is deeply affected by smartphones and social media trends. So I'm going to use that word relevance again. More than ever before, your Gen Z students want to see the relevance of what they're learning. So this is a really great chart. It shows a descriptive comparison by generation and learning preferences. Now, I know this is pretty small on your screen, but we're going to share some handouts after today's presentation, and one of the links on that handout page will be to this chart because it's pretty cool. And what I want to hone in on is this far right column right here, where you can see there that research shows that those Gen Z students have that get it now, do it now, learn it now mindset. They prefer visual and interactive, bite-sized learning, hands-on modalities. And I'm sharing this with you because when you know how this generation prefers to learn, you can adjust the way you teach, right? So let's talk about that. How do you teach Generation Z? Well, you can start by getting rid of the 15-minute PowerPoint presentations, which is a tip I love sharing during a live PowerPoint presentation. I think it illustrates, you can't get rid of PowerPoints completely. They still provide they're still valuable, but you can break it up. You can give your students more than just those slides. You can add in group work. You can add in activities. We'll do that later with our introduction of the geriatric simulator. And even if you really have to use those slides, say you're teaching remotely, you can incorporate things like quizzes, like the poll everywhere we just attempted to utilize, and you guys were wonderful to participate in the chat and the questions. You can add those hands-on demos every few slides. You can break up the learning a little bit. You can seek out projects. And of course, you can provide those interactive hands-on learning opportunities. And this is really what we've heard overwhelmingly from educators. Today's students are used to having something in their hands, right? Whether it's a cell phone or a fidget spinner. And if you can put an awesome hands-on learning aid in place of one of those other gadgets, they're going to pay attention. So let's dive into geriatric sensitivity in particular. So research and conversations with healthcare instructors and professionals have shown that there are a number of really key trends happening right now, all at the same time. So first, the number of older adults across the globe is increasing. People worldwide are just living longer. Today, most people can expect to live into their 60s and beyond. And in fact, every country in the world is experiencing this growth, both in size and the proportion of older people in the population. So you can see some fun stats on your screen now. By 2030, 1 in 6 people in the world will be age 60 or over. And in fact, by 2050, the world's population of people 60 or older will double. Now, again, I'm including sources when I'm sharing these stats in today's presentation. And when we send out those post-webinar emails, we'll include links to those resources as well. So another trend we're seeing right now in conjunction with the increasing older population is that demand for healthcare jobs is growing. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that overall employment in healthcare occupations is projected to grow 13% from 2021 to 2031, which is much faster than average for all occupations. And this increase is expected to result in about 2 million new jobs over the next decade. And in addition to new jobs from growth, opportunities are also going to rise from the need to replace workers who are leaving their occupations permanently. In fact, about 1.9 million openings each year on average are projected to come from growth and replacement needs. Wow. So finally, a final trend that I want to talk about briefly that's meaningful to this discussion is that employers are continuing to report the need for employees with soft skills like empathy. Soft skills top employer wish lists both before and after the pandemic. In fact, nearly 3 in 4 employers say they have a hard time finding graduates with the soft skills their companies need. And educators are telling us this as well. Almost half of academic institutions believe that recent graduates lack those life skills needed in the workforce. So that stat was according to a 2020 Society for Human Resource Management study. In healthcare settings, of course, we all know undeveloped soft skills can really make an impact. They can lead to medical errors, unhealthy or unproductive work environments, job satisfaction, and unfavorable patient survey results, which can adversely affect hospital reimbursements. So this is really important. And as you can see from this chart, skills like empathy really are essential for folks working with older adults. Older patients have unique challenges and unique needs. And those challenges and those needs require specialized nursing skills like communication and patience and critical thinking and mental flexibility. So this is a great list. I love it. Of the top 10 skills you need for working in a nursing home. And you can see most of those skills involve direct patient care. Really, the bottom line from this conversation is that geriatric sensitivity has really become a key skill for anyone entering the healthcare field. Now, this is a quote and an image of Miranda Kessler, who was an educator that I've worked with in the past. She uses our geriatric simulator in her health science program at the Nicholas County Career and Technical Education Center in West Virginia. And I love the statement from her. I think it mirrors many of the other healthcare it mirrors that of many of the other healthcare instructors that we've spoken to. She says that she wants to be able to teach her students to be more understanding and empathetic with the aging process by the time they make it to their clinical rotation. She wants them to understand why their residents are moving so slowly and to be patient and to be kind. That compassion, that understanding are key to providing care for geriatric patients. If you can walk in the shoes of an older adult, you're much more likely to provide that care because you'll understand the challenges that those daily tasks can present. So here's another great little resource for you. And again, we'll link to these in our post-webinar emails. But this is a fun, quick takeaway. And in fact, I got this from one of the instructors I spoke with about this topic. This is a fun little acronym. We thought it was a handy tool to help your students remember not only why empathy is impactful, but how to demonstrate it to their patients. Eye contact, facial muscles, posture, your tone of voice, and your hearing of the whole patient. And again, this will be in the slides that you'll receive following today's presentation. So with that, we've covered a little bit of the importance of teaching geriatric sensitivity and the workforce, what's happening in the workforce today with healthcare. Let's dive into those strategies for teaching geriatric sensitivity to today's students. So strategy number one that we recommend is ask your students what works for them. This conversation, this recommendation actually comes from a nurse educator that we work with right here in Wisconsin, who's been teaching geriatrics for 25 years. She says that for years, she used in-class tools like body language and eye contact, plus your own experience, to decipher her students' learning styles as she taught them. And then, as she related to me, it just occurred to her one day to start the class by asking before she even began teaching. So now she welcomes each of her new classes with a questionnaire, just a quick one, about their learning styles. And then she uses their answers to really help her learn about them before they even start clinicals, so she can align their needs with what she has to teach them. So for instance, the semester I was interviewing her for a story, she had learned that most of her students were kinesthetic learners. So she incorporated simple hands-on activities whenever possible. And that's actually an image on your screen of her students practicing massage on each other shortly after her lesson on the topic. So she found a quick, fun way to incorporate that kinesthetic learning activity. So if you want to incorporate this into your own classroom, here are some fun free resources that we found, quick opportunities for you to hop online and create an interactive quiz that you could potentially share with your students before you dive into your own lessons. So strategy number two that we recommend is to set the stage with a pre-activity. On your screen is an image of the empathy self-assessment that comes with our geriatric simulator as part of the curriculum, but actually you can access that for free by going to our website and downloading a guide that we offer right on our website, 5 lessons for incorporating social emotional learning in the classroom. This assessment is a really great way to jumpstart that conversation on empathy and geriatric sensitivity. It in particular allows your students to really just take a quick internal look at their own values and the way that they in particular on an individual level think of empathy and think of geriatric sensitivity when it comes to daily life before you even start talking about why it matters in healthcare and really help them start learning how to develop it more. So this is a great way for you to gauge where they are. And then you could even use it again at the end of your lesson on geriatric sensitivity and empathy to judge what your students have learned. And that could in itself become a really fun talking point. So again, the link is on your screen now, and we'll share it with our post webinar slides. If you are interested in accessing the self-assessment, you can download this guide, and that'll come with it along with some other fun ideas and activities. So strategy number 3 that we wanted to share was to add relevancy with real examples. So I've said the word relevancy a couple times in today's presentation, and here it is again, right? Today's students need to see the relevancy of what they're learning. And that is why Louisiana CTE teacher Jennifer Ebert, who I've spoken with a couple times in the past, recommends providing students with real world examples. She does this by asking them how they're using soft skills every day, really give them a chance to contemplate the impact of soft skills on their own lives. So in Jennifer's classroom, she tries to begin her lessons by just asking her students to stand up in class and share a soft skill that they used recently, say at their job or even at an athletic activity. These examples are particularly helpful, of course, if they come from students who, maybe have part-time jobs as CNAs or other healthcare professionals, but truly even hearing how empathy helps students relate to a customer at their job serving fast food will help your students just start thinking about how these skills apply to the real world and see that relevancy before you dive into your lesson. Strategy number 4 is to bring in subject matter experts. This is a great strategy, and again, it helps demonstrate the relevancy of what you're teaching. If you're able to find a local nursing home director or a certified nursing assistant, a dietitian, an activities director, and invite them to come into your classroom and spend some time talking to your students about their jobs and what the responsibilities they have and how they see things like empathy and geriatric sensitivity and those other soft skills incorporated on the job on a daily basis. We encourage you to ask your students to come up with a list of questions they like to ask, and of course, make time for post-panel discussion as well. I encourage you to remember that industry representatives, for the most part, want to help. In fact, part of my job is interviewing professionals who help out in classrooms. And I promise I have yet to contact a professional who, even in a small way, finds it annoying or hard to incorporate classroom help into their busy schedules, because they know they're talking to their future workforce. They want those students to be engaged and to see the importance of what you're teaching them. Plus, tools like Zoom, thanks to the pandemic, make tasks like this even easier. And these days, most people are used to using them. So strategy number 5 is to incorporate those hands-on learning aids. We've referenced the importance of hands-on learning a few times in this presentation. And of course, here at Realityworks, that's what we specialize in. We want to make sure that educators have the tools that they need to create those engaging learning environments so that you can foster those healthcare career exploration skills. You can help your students develop the skills that they need to succeed in the workforce. And one way to do that is bring in some cool tools. Bring in some learning aids that will engage your students and provide that hands-on learning, give them those real life practice scenarios and that immediate feedback. And we know research shows hands-on learning works. Research backs up the efficacy of these tools and activities that are interactive and hands-on, but in particular, it backs up the efficacy of wearables and simulators. So this is a snip from a study that was conducted at the University of Würzburg on the effectiveness of age simulation. And wow, it found that 83% of participants were able to empathize with life and old age very well, while 95% of participants had a better understanding of the physical conditions of aging after participating in a wearable age simulation experience. And of course, these days, simulation can be an essential component of your program, especially if that face-to-face interaction is a little bit harder to coordinate. So now at this point, we've covered a little bit about the importance of hands-on learning aids and why it's so important to look for those opportunities in your classroom. We'd love to take you away from that PowerPoint, right? Give you a break, let you maybe even stretch a little while we introduce our RealCare Geriatric Simulator. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and we're going to start our video. Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm Emily. And I am joined by Cam here, who is our marketing intern. Thank you, Cam. Cam is wearing some components of our RealCare Geriatric Simulator. Now, this is actually the tool that started it all. I referenced it earlier in the presentation. This is the tool that kicked off our line of geriatric products. Educators had come to us looking for a hands-on way to help students really walk in the shoes of older adults and help them experience and understand what life can be like with common visual and physical challenges. So we created this wearable suit. It comes with several components. As you can see, Cam's wearing some. To save time, we did put her in most of the components right away, but you can see she's wearing a weighted vest, and really it's pretty heavy. It certainly makes moving fast difficult. It also comes with elbow restraints for both arms, as well as wrist restraints. She's wearing gloves as well. So these restraints are going to make it a little bit harder to move, right? That loss of sensation in the hands is being impacted by the gloves that she's wearing. It's a little harder to breathe, maybe even with the weight on your chest. It also comes with a few other parts and pieces like a cervical collar. So this is going to restrict that neck movement and really make it easy to, or difficult rather, to turn your head quickly and you know, move in those common daily ways that we don't even think about doing. This tool also comes with a variety of visual impairment glasses, and this might be the most popular part of this simulator. These are all glasses that mimic common visual challenges like macular degeneration, cataracts, glaucoma, all things if your students put these on, they start to experience like, oh, wow, this is what my patients are actually going through, or grandma or grandpa or my older family friend, right? So we're going to have Cam carefully take off her real glasses. Thank you, Cam. And we're going to give you some macular degeneration glasses. So there you go. So when you combine all these components and start to incorporate those daily activities, your students who are wearing the suit will, you know, those light bulb moments will start to happen. They'll start to really understand what their patients are experiencing and why it might be difficult to, like Miranda said earlier in the presentation, move quickly or complete tasks fast, or, you know, they can't be rushed. You need to have patience when you're working with them. So in fact, that is one of my favorite components of this simulator. It comes with a robust curriculum that does a great job of incorporating the suit into the lessons. And one of the lessons involves involves the student, and possibly like another one with being the caregiver, accomplishing those daily tasks like dressing. So, in a nursing facility, maybe you'd have a CNA helping a patient, get ready for the day, get dressed, put on shirts, button shirts. And by wearing the simulator, you could have a student wearing the suit who, in attempting to do so, starts to learn what it's like to accomplish that simple daily task while experiencing those common physical challenges of aging. And then, of course, the person helping gets to experience what it's like to, excuse me, Cam, be patient and move slowly, right? And I'm certainly not going to expect Cam to rush as she's putting this on, because it is a little harder. Okay, so we've got this great collared shirt with buttons, right? And those buttons are small, and your young, healthy students are going to be able to do this quickly, but Cam's going to try to do it while wearing the gloves, and she's still got those glasses on that mimic macular degeneration. She's got her cervical collar on, which is making it a little harder for her to look down, right? Cam, what is this like to try to button those buttons right now?
It's very difficult to feel where the opening is for the buttons and even to see what I'm doing. I almost have to kind of try to do it by memory.
Excellent. Cam, thank you. You are getting major, major points in the marketing team for being our model today.
Thank you.
And so this is a great example of that hands-on learning offered by, the simulator, but then of course we have a whole variety of products that we'll dive into a little bit today. So Cam, I won't make you struggle anymore with that. Thank you so much for your willingness to participate.
No problem. Thank you.
So with that, folks, we're going to stop the video and hop back to the slides, and we'll share. We have one more activity and a couple of great resources for you all. Okay, so let's dive in. So speaking of geriatric training tools, I alluded to the fact that we do offer a whole line of products that really just were launched after the success of our geriatric simulator, and we really saw the need for tools like this. So we do offer really a whole bunch of kits and simulators and models that put your students in the shoes of older adults, including a geriatric sensory impairment kit. We offer a medication management simulation kit, a geriatric nursing mannequin. You can check out all of those products and even see a few more by going onto our website. The URL is on the screen in front of you, and we will include it in our post-webinar emails as well. So I wanted to end with this final bonus slide. This is a great idea that we actually learned from a Missouri instructor to create a geriatric sensitivity workshop. Sadania Suttles is a lab coordinator at Mineral Area College, and she did this with her students. And as you can see, we have a great quote from Sadania on the screen in front of you. Sadania told us, you can watch videos all day, but once you put students into that situation, it's a totally different experience. Sadania's colleagues at the college spent a while making their own simulators, but with the increase of elderly patients in hospitals and the need to really make sure her students were prepared to work with them in the future, they were able to bring in simulators and models and create an entire workshop. So you can learn how Sadania did it and learn, even hear from a few of her students who participated in the workshop by visiting our website. The link again is on your screen, and we'll include it in our post-webinar slides. So with that, speaking of those slides, now what? Now that we have hit you with all of this great information, what do you do? Well, we recommend you visit our website. You can access a whole bunch of great free resources there, including that guide I referenced earlier on teaching social emotional learning. We also have a guide geared specifically toward developing empathy, which a picture of which is on your screen, and you can also find that on our website. We offer a variety of posters that showcase the growing opportunities in healthcare careers. You can access that free empathy self-assessment and more. And of course, you can contact us if you have any questions about any of the tools you saw today or that we referenced. Email us at information@realityworks.com. Give us a call, live chat on our web. We'd love to hear from you. So with that, we are just going to open it up to questions. You can use the chat window on your screen. You can use the Q&A, those tools that you utilized when we had asked that poll question earlier, and we are here to answer as many questions as time allows.
Okay, thank you, Emily, for the great information. We'll give everybody a second to open up the chat and put any questions in that you have. Just a reminder, following this, you will get that certificate of completion for attending today, as well as the PowerPoint slides and other links to resources that Emily provided. And one question that we have is, we have somebody here from a university teaching in a post-secondary setting and is curious how tools like this are being used at that level of education.
That's a good question, Sam. I'm glad that that's being asked because that's really the most common use of our simulators that we've seen. And in fact, the slide that showcased students doing the massages on each other, that was actually from a CNA program, post-secondary CNA program here in Wisconsin. And she used our simulator right before her students went to live clinicals. So she would address all the lessons that she needed and prepare them to, to take their tests and their certifications. But then she'd make sure that they each got time with the simulator in class. And, she found that it really gave them that extra boost of, again, that all important empathy and sensitivity, so that by the time they made it out with real patients, her students were prepared and they knew a little bit more of what to expect and how to react, how to be empathetic and kind. Oh, thanks. I'm seeing some awesome feedback here. Sam, you already addressed Billy's question. Will we receive a certificate for PD credit? Yep. Check your email within 24 hours after today's recording, and we'll make sure that all of the attendees receive that certification. Lakita is wondering, do you provide a payment plan for these simulators? Sam here is our marketing communications manager, so I will defer to her with that good question, Lakita.
Hi, Lakita. I think the best way to find out what kind of great funding ideas that we have and options for getting the simulator in your program would be to directly reach out to our account services team. If you go to realityworks.com, a great chat will pop up and we have a live person there. If you want to butter her up, her name is Stacy, but tell Stacy we sent you over there to chat more about getting the simulators into your program. Or you can email information@realityworks.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam. Sally, yes, absolutely. We'll be sending all the slides out to everyone. Kanani, thank you so much. Delighted that you enjoyed the ideas. Ditto to you, Julie. Catherine, absolutely. You'll get your certificate. Lakita created her own version. Awesome. Thank you for reiterating the value of those hands-on learning ideas. It looks like we are seeing awesome feedback. Oh, let's see. Catherine, future webinars are during class time. Will they be recorded for later review? Catherine, that's a great question. Absolutely. It is tricky to find a time frame that works for everyone. And that is why we always record our webinars and we post them on our website. So you'll be able to go onto the same webpage that you actually visited on our website to register for the webinar. You'll be able to replay all of our past webinars, and you can access even more valuable presentations as well right on our website. So absolutely. It looks like we don't have any additional questions or concerns. So thank you everyone for spending some time with us today. We hope you found today's information valuable. Keep an eye on your inbox because we will be sending you the recording and your certificate and links to all of the slides and information that we shared. Thank you so much.